Namaste all. Welcome to the first language English poetry class, and it is for class 9. Well children, today we are going to listen to a poetry class, and it's going to be geography lesson. It seems to be like a prose. No, this is a poem and it is written by Zulfikar Ghosh. Let's take up a warm-up activity which is already in the text. Could you see some pictures? Yes, let's see what we are going to focus in these pictures. Something, could you guess? What is the focus about? Yes, these are compound walls. Now let's come to know why the activity like compound wall is given here. Let's see, why do we have compound walls for our houses? Yes, we'll see. Compound walls act like the first layer of protection. Next, compound walls protect the house from animals, thieves, etc. Next, compound walls serve to demarcate the boundary of the property. Yes, these are the uses of compound walls. We do have for our houses these compound walls, and many institutions, schools, many factories do have compound walls. Now let's see these pictures. Now there are no compound walls for these pictures for the houses given here. Fine? Yes, some are modernized without compound walls, that doesn't matter. Now the question is, what would happen if the law says to abolish compound walls? What will happen if there are no compound walls? Could you see here what's entering into the house? Yes, the animal, the wild animal enters. Some may set fire also. Fine. Some may steal and run away also, and robbers are there to enter where the house is without the compound walls. These disasters may take place. Now, what is the connection with the compound walls, boundaries and this poem geography lesson? Fine. Before that, let's know about the poet Zulfikar Ghosh. He was born Sialkot, India, now Pakistan, on March 13, 1935. He is a novelist, a poet and an essayist. After the partition of India, Ghosh and his family immigrated to England, where he completed his education and took up the teaching profession. Later, he went to America, and since then he lived in Texas. Now at present he is in America. Fine. Now let's recite the poem Geography Lesson by Zulfikar Ghosh. Shall we recite the poem? Just look into the lines of the poem. This is a peculiar poem. It is different from other poems. In the end, we will see why it is different from the other poems. Fine? Here we go with some pictures and with the lines of the poem. When the jet sprang into the sky, it was clear why the city had developed the way it had, seeing it scaled 6 inches to the mile. There seems an inevitability about what on ground had looked haphazard, unplanned and without style when the jet sprang into the sky. When the jet reached 10,000 feet, it was clear why the country had cities where rivers ran and why the valleys were populated. The logic of geography, that land and water attracted man, was clearly delineated when the jet reached 10,000 feet When the jet rose 6 miles high, it was clear that the earth was round and that it had more sea than land. But it was difficult to understand that the men on earth found causes to hate each other, to build walls across cities and to kill. From the height, it was not clear why. Children, we recited the lines of the poem, and let's see some of the words which are given in this poem. Inevitable. It is unavoidable, inescapable. ತಪ್ಪಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳಲಾಗದ, ಅನಿವಾರ್ಯ. And here you could see it is put in the sentence, growth is an inevitable truth which cannot be escapable. Next, haphazard. Let's see its meaning. Aimless, not in an order or plan. Avyavasthita, avyavasthit. And here you could see the closet. Things have been thrown in this closet in an haphazard way. Delineated, described, ವರ್ಣಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ನಿರೂಪಿತ್. Let's see here in the art gallery she delineated her portrait. Fine. Valley. Here in the poem it is mentioned, an elongated depression between hills and mountains, often with a river flowing through it. This is a valley. Yes. Let's look into the summary of geography lesson by Zulfikar Ghosh. This is a single stanza poem of 24 lines and does not have any rhyme scheme. In this poem, Ghosh talks about 3 things. Let's see. Firstly, how everything looks from the sky. Secondly, how civilization was set up. And lastly, why people hate each other. These are the 3 things Ghosh is focusing on when he flies high in the sky in his jet. Let's see more about it. The poem begins with the poet seeing the city from the jet. The poet says that when he sees the city from the jet, he finds that the cities are not well planned. They are haphazard. That is the word he uses in his poem. He realizes that water is very essential for various activities such as agriculture, transport, business, etc. As the jet moves higher, he reflects that people have built boundaries and hate each other. The poem displays the poet's concern for the division and friction among people. He says that from that height, everything seems to be small. When we go in flight, when we look in through the window, we could see all the whole country or the whole city seems to be very small, and the houses seems to be like ants. People seems to be even smaller than that, right? Yes. He could see the full city properly. Also, he found that the city was not properly planned and was disorganized. Thus, it had no particular style. When the jet reached the height of 10,000 feet, he could see that the cities were located near the rivers and water resources. He has already mentioned that water is important for human life or all the living beings. He realizes that the availability of water resources is the reason behind the unorganized cities. The cities grew as per the necessities. As the need arises, the cities also grew. The people built many houses, many important buildings for the sake of the human beings. People settle near the water resources more as they require water for almost all their activities. He understood that the fertile land and water are the key to human existence. Thus, he could see the logical reason for the development of cities. So, that was the summary of the poem. Fine. Let us take up the comprehension questions which is already in our exercise. If you would quickly open your textbook, you could just see the exercise and some of the questions. Let us just ponder over these questions. Comprehension 1, read the poem silently and you are going to read it again and answer the following questions. The first question, what did the poet see from the jet when he was in the height? The expected answer could be, he saw the city from the jet. He found that the cities were not well planned. Okay. Shall we move to the second question? What is the logic of geography? He mentioned in the poem. The logic of geography is that land and water attracted men, and that is why man built his house, built his whatever he wants near the water sources. Next question. From high above the earth, how did the cities appear to the poet? Yes, how did it appear? He saw the full city. Also, he found that the city was not properly planned and was disorganized. Thus, it had no particular style. From a higher altitude, what lesson could the poet learn about the cities? The poet learned that the cities were near the water resources where the civilizations took place. Most of the civilizations took place at the shore of the rivers. You could see many Indus Valley civilization, Mesopotamian civilization, many civilizations took place near the river where water spots were found. So, water is necessary for the human living and that is why the civilization took place near the water resources. What was difficult to understand for the poet when he went up in the jet and saw from a great height? What was difficult to understand? It was difficult to understand why men on earth found causes to hate each other and build walls across. Why there was walls across? This has also another meaning. People hated each other and never mingled with the human beings, and why they hated, this was the thing which poet did not understand. Even today many of us also don't understand these things. Why people hated each other. Fine. Let us see the next exercise. Choose the appropriate word or phrases. The word haphazard and unplanned are used to describe. The options are the scale, the sky, the jet, the city. What were haphazardly arranged? The cities. Yes, the answer is, the option is the cities. Man built cities where rivers ran because, and the options are A, land and water attracted man, B, he wanted everything for himself, C, he wanted to draw boundaries, D, he considered himself God. What could be the option? Why did man build cities where rivers ran? Yes, it is because land and water attracted man. Let's move to the next one. When the jet rose 6 miles high, the earth looked round and had, the options are a number of people, more land than water, more sea than land, more animals than people. What is the correct option? More sea than land. When the jet rose many miles higher, the poet was able to view more water, more sea than the land. Next, comprehension 2. Discuss the following question in group and answer. This is also in the textbook. You can open your textbook and have a look at the question as well as the answer which will be provided here. The question is, from above, the city looked haphazard and unplanned. Why do you think the city looked so? Why? Let's see the answer here. The city looked haphazard and unplanned. The poet had felt that men loved water sports more and the population was more near the water resources alone. Hence, it's perhaps the poet felt it was unplanned. Well, let's see this question. The last stanza shows the degradation of human nature. Do you agree with this view? Justify your view. Yes, that was the degradation of human nature. The poet specifies that man has become greedy in acquiring the land and for which man destroys the Mother Earth. The poet is perhaps mentioning that man needs to live without the boundaries and live a life of love but not hatred. Fine. Now, let's take up comprehension 3. Ponder over the following questions and express your views on the answers. Now, here the picture of the earth zooms out in the poet's mind, and against that background we see human nature. Bring out the contrast between the earth and the human nature. Here, what is the Mother Earth giving us and how is the human nature? Let's just see. But you could just ponder, even you can add many more of your own points here. Let's read out. The earth is a selfless giver. The earth gives everything. The Mother Earth gives everything for us. It has given everything to man. But in the contrast, the human being is a selfish destroyer. Man destroys everything for his own living. To make his living better, he destroys, and that is how the earth is damaged today. Well, you can add up your point also. Let's watch a video where the earth is angry with the selfish human attitude and how we human beings need to be selfless towards the Mother Earth. Let's watch this video and come back. Children, you have just watched the video of how the nature destroys with this anger the whole earth, and sometimes even the rain, and sometimes even the floods, tsunami. All these are the destruction because of we human beings becoming selfish towards the nature shows its anger. Once the nature shows its anger, you just saw the video how the distractions come. Let's love the earth, let's love one another and live a happy life. That is the lesson Ghosh is teaching us through this poem geography lesson. Yes, children, now we have come to the end of this poem geography lesson, and we had learnt many things how actually we need to be selfless as human beings on this earth. We need to love each other and we need to take care of each other without drawing the boundaries. Okay, fine, children. Go through the poem geography lesson once again and try to answer the questions which is given in the for the home assignment. Shall we go? Please take out your textbook and mark a tick in your textbooks. These are all textual questions. Fine? Answer the question. According to the poet, what was in greater portion on earth? Next, according to the poet, what do men on earth do? Next, C2. Take up this question, mark it. Geographically, what is the importance of rivers and valleys? Explain their importance with reference to the second stanza of the poem. Read the poem again and the lines of the poem itself will give an answer for this, and take the help of your teachers too. The next question, imagine planet Earth having only water and no land. Do you think man would still draw boundaries and wage wars? Discuss with your friends. Yes, this also you could read through the poem again and you can have a small discussion with your friends while you are doing WhatsApp messages, and also with your teachers you could discuss and find an answer for this. Fine. Choose the correct option. Here you need to make a note of it. These are not in the textbook. If there are, you just put a mark. If there aren't, take a book and make a note of it. Okay. First one, according to the poet, man has divided the earth. Options. Option A, by drawing political boundaries. Option B, by drawing religious boundaries. Option C, on the basis of race. Option D, all the above. Think over and tick the correct option. The next one, the message of the poem is option A, to divide mankind on the basis of race, culture and ethnic differences. B, to draw artificial boundaries. C, to create hatred and hostility among people. D, to live in harmony with all the people of the world. Yes, children, you have copied the home assignments. Read through the poem and the summary again and write in your notes. This summary is important for us to answer few questions also which comes in our home assignments. The poem begins with the poet seeing the city from the jet. The poet says that when he sees the city from the jet, he finds that the cities are not well planned. He realizes that water is very essential for various activities such as agriculture, transport, business, etc. As the jet moves higher, he reflects that people have built boundaries and hate each other. And this is evident here that you could see the boundaries built and they have a restriction where they hate each other, not mingling in love with each other. That is why poet mentions this. The poem displays the poet's concern for the division and friction among people. Make a note of these things. He says that from that height everything seems very small. He could see the full city properly. But what is not proper? Also, he found that the city was not properly planned and was disorganized. Thus, it had no particular style. There were many ups and downs in the city. That is what he meant to say here. When the jet reached the height of 10,000 feet, he could see that the cities were located near the rivers or water resources. This shows that water is essential for human beings, animals to live. He realized that the availability of water resource is the reason behind the unorganized cities. That means in particular place there is no water. The water, wherever water is seen, there the human beings started residing, started building houses, and that is why it is not organized well. That is the meaning here perhaps Ghosh wanted to say in this poetry. Make a note of this in your summary part. The city grew as per the necessity, and as the necessity arose, city grew wherever it was needed, and there was no linear way of growth. People settled near the water resources more as they required water for almost all their activities. And where there was no water, the people were less. The population is less where the water resources is not there. Population is more where the water resources are there. Okay? Fine. Make a note of this also. He understood that the fertile land and water are the key to human existence. Where water is available, their life existed. Even today it is the same. Thus, he could see the logical reason for the development of the cities. Children, now you have taken the summary of the poem. Keep that safe, and while you are answering the questions, the summary of the poem will help us to analyze and answer the questions. Children, and those were for your assignment. Take a look at it, read the poem again, and please answer the questions. Take the help of your teachers also. And we have come to the end of this session. Thank you very much for being with me, and please take care and please do all your work. Namaste all.